Welcome to Love and Life. I'm Dr. Karen Anderson Abril here with my co-host,
Pastor Elliot Anderson.
And Love and Life is your place to hear conversations grounded in psych research, psychotherapy,
and biblical truth
to help us thrive in love and life. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Jenna McCarthy. She's the author of many books, including the one we're talking about today, Yankee Doodle Soup for the Fringy tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist soul. Guilty. She is picking up where we left off, talking about what she went through as a dissident and how, as a comedian, she was able to find that silver lining in the midst of so much darkness, discouragement, and frankly, disparaging comments from friends, family members, and the president. Also many other people in the world. But the collective trauma we've been talking about with COVID, it's ongoing, but we process it, we move through it, we heal, like Elliot and I have been talking about over the last several weeks with our series on trauma. It applies to the collective trauma of COVID as well. So thanks for being here again, and we'll continue our conversation with Jenna right now. To your point earlier, once you start to dismantle the overwhelming psyop that we just endured, then I go, well, what else have they been lying to us? Because I know they've been lying about the pharma for forever. I know that FDA is a joke. I know that they poison us with glyphosate. Like, this is true. This is not even for debate. So once you go down that road, then you start going, well, this is what's happening behind this curtain over here that I took for granted was truth because I trusted these entities. Now you have me at the point where I trust literally nothing. But then to your point you said earlier, you get someone like your V or whatever this guy is, where they're just like, it's all a ruse. I mean, you've got people who are talking about like, we're living in a simulation. I mean, when you go into the corners that we've gone to with some of them, sure some of the Substacks you read, I go, I don't know that I can digest this in any way, shape, or form, or else I'll just feel like I might as well just curl up and die right now because none of it matters. How have you tried to sort through all that?
I mean, I try to keep my mind open, like you said, but at the end of the day, like, I will engage in any conversation as long as it's respectful. If you disagree with me, bring your best argument. And, and what I found over and over and over and over again, and I could literally take screenshots and send you 1,000 examples of this. Like, I'll say blank and somebody else says, you're wrong, you're stupid, you're ugly, and you're illiterate. And I'm like, okay, no, but here's a link, and here's some backup, and here's what that looks like. And it's, you're even uglier than I thought. Please stop talking. Like, they will never bring like a rational argument, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and like V, from a purely philosophical standpoint, it makes sense, right? If you just look at historically how the parties have flipped, right? That was another thing in my post today. Like, conservatives used to be, oil and gas, and now we're the ones buying the Teslas. Like, I know. Everything has flipped. We were the liberals were the screw the man, and now we're the ones saying defund the government. Like, it's so opposite that there's a part of you that goes, there's got to be something else at play here that we're not seeing. But then when you look at the RFKs and the Tulsi Gabbards and the, Donald Trumps, like all of these former Democrats that say all the time, like, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. It went because it's not the Democratic Party anymore. It really is like pre-communism. It really is. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, like you said earlier, but if you look at the steps toward a communist society, it's everything they've tried to do, right? It's destroy the nuclear family. It's hypersexualize everything. It's divide. So that's obviously the goal. And it's very clearly the goal of one side, right? Yeah. But they couch everything in this virtue signaling. I know that word is so overused, but really like, I feel like if you have a rational brain, and you could take out it's the kind thing to do is to hire the dumbest person who also happens to be a Black lady. Like if you could just take that, well, we feel bad for her. She didn't have the same opportunities we did. You know, the Black community is always going to be disadvantaged. Okay. Why don't we work on that then?
Yeah.
Why don't we work on that rather than hiring the guy to fly my plane because he's wearing a dress? No, I don't like how did like it's so insane, but they couch everything, the DEI and all lives matter and, you know, trans this and everything else. Like you're a bad person. You're just a bad person. You're a bad person if you don't want trans people to have the same rights. I'm like, you don't want them to have the same rights. You want them to take away women's rights. You want them to be able to compete against my daughters at sports when they're biologically advantaged. Like, no, but they literally can't see that because propaganda is powerful. And the messaging is you're good if you support, you know, if you've got the Ukraine flag in your bio and, you know, all, like that's good. And anything else. So to your question, you know, they've made it so that we're all just stereotypes, right? Like I one of my most popular Substacks was the myth of the redneck Trump voter, because I just deconstructed like this. We are all bubbas in our backyard barbecuing, and we're dumb as stumps. Like the liberals really think that, and like there was a oh my gosh, the former press secretary, the redheaded gal. Not Corinne Jean-Pierre.
I know who you're talking about.
She has her own show now.
She does. Why am I blanking?
I know.
They called her Peppermint Patty.
Yeah, Peppermint Patty.
Funny.
Whatever. Her.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of her the other day saying the problem with Democrats is we're just so smart. And we don't know how to dumb it down. We can't dumb it down. And I think that's really intimidating for people.
Oh my
It was something like that. It was so bad. I'll send you the link, but I'm like, they actually think that. They think they're smarter. They think we're better. They think like that we are just a bunch of redneck lunatics. We're redneck lunatics.
And and we're selfish and our freedom. We don't care about killing people with our nasty COVID unvaxxed breath.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so getting back to the relationship piece, because I'm sitting here thinking about your friend who wouldn't let you, please, you can see my beautiful home, but keep your mask on and then we'll have drinks out in the veranda with blah, blah, blah. A few years ago, I started having trouble falling asleep. And I started taking melatonin because I thought it was a natural way to try to relax myself, calm myself down, and go to sleep. But it turns out that as a hormone supplement, melatonin can disrupt our other hormones and we can build up an immunity to it. So when we started partnering with the wellness company, I was super excited to try their melatonin-free sleep aid called Restful Sleep. It includes passion flower, chamomile, valerian root, among other herbs and natural ways to help calm us down and get us ready to go to bed. I've been using it for a couple months now, and Restful Sleep helps my mind and body quiet themselves and ease into sleep. If you've ever had insomnia, you know how brutal it is. The wellness company's Restful Sleep can help. Head over to twc.health/lovelife and enter promo code LOVELIFE at checkout for 15% off your entire order. That's twc.health/lovelife and promo code LOVELIFE for 15% off your entire order. So how did you get your husband on board though?
Honestly, he likes to say, because I've said this on other interviews, and he was like, I wasn't pro-vaccine, and he wasn't pro-vaccine at all, but he was more like, wait and see. But if I had to, you know, I'm not going to let it ruin my life. I'm just going to go on with it because not really understanding. So, but I was making it my all day, every day job. Right. Yeah, and so it literally was down to when my daughter wasn't able to work and our other daughter was about to go to college in California. And I had applied for a religious exemption and I hadn't gotten a word on it yet. And I'm literally emailing the health center every day going, I'm about to write a check to you for $50,000. Like, I need an answer. I need an answer. You're not going to tell me when she's 2 weeks in that no, because I'm moving her there. I'm driving her car there. I'm like, I need an answer. And so finally we got the yes on that. But my other daughter just could not work and was really, really upset about it. And my husband was like, we were having the biggest fight that we've ever had, honestly. And it was ugly and we were screaming obscenities. And that was part of the, like, we're not going to default to you. And he's like, well, why do we default to you? And I said, because I've literally made it my job to protect our family. So I will tell you right now, I'm going to send you 3 things tonight for you to watch or read. And if you still disagree with me tomorrow, then we'll have another conversation. But I'm going to send you 3 things. Mm-hmm. It'll be less than an hour to watch or read all of them. And it's funny because I've told this story and it's a hand-to-heart truth on my children's lives. I can't even remember what I sent him, but because by this time I had 10,000 things bookmarked.
Of course.
And I was like, what is going to be, it couldn't be the America's Frontline Doctors because they, everybody had already, discounted.
Right.
Dr. Emmanuel was like having virtual sex with spirits or something. Like, they did what they always do, right? When they can't refute the message, they destroyed the messenger. So there were very few people that were like, okay, that guy hasn't been smeared yet. So I know it was something from Dr. Peter McCullough, who was probably the first dissident that I followed. Yeah. There was probably a Robert Malone. And I don't even remember. But the next day he was like, yeah, I don't want her to get that. Oh, like, okay, good. Cause I'm not kidding. And I love him. And we've been married 25 years, like this month. I will kidnap our children and disappear with them if I have to. I will do that.
But see, that to me, I know that I'm sure that people who are in that middle that you were talking about earlier would hear that statement and be like, she would give up a marriage to the love of her life, the husband of her children. That's how passionate I was. I mean, I was so thankful that it was like you, because Dan's out there working and I work from home. So I had the time and I walk the dogs. I'd listen to, Alex Berenson was one that came across my path early on that I would just like wait for his Substacks to drop. Like, I need Unreported Truths was like my lifeline. So like, this guy is brilliant. He is a former journalist from the New York Times. He's got all the credentials.
And there were some really, really good folks that were, and the minute they were getting deplatformed and silenced and demonetized, you're like, oh, thanks for, like, when they came out with that disinformation dozen,
I was like, those are my people.
Like 5 of those I hadn't even heard of. So thank you.
Yeah, like, exactly.
I got more people to follow now. Yeah.
No, exactly. And Dr. Mercola in there. Yeah. McCullough was probably the one that I was starting to listen to probably. And then when Weinstein, of course, with Pierre on Rogan, that was one of the first big ivermectin drops as far as like content on a podcast. So that was, and so of course Heather, and actually I got to meet them. Oh, it's amazing. We went to the inauguration and went to the Maha inaugural ball. Oh, yeah. And I got to meet Brett and Heather just briefly. I got a picture with them. I was like totally fangirling. Because I mean, again, these are people, but these are my favorite people, Jenna. Because I mean, I've had, like we talked about, like I was politically homeless, didn't care that much a long time when I lived in Chicago. I was voting for Obama. Again, Democrat dad, Republican mom. I didn't see it as polarizing as it is now. And it wasn't as polarizing as it is now. I mean, those days.
Democratic dad, Republican mom. I mean, there.
Right, exactly. And raised 3 happy, healthy children. Like, yeah. And they would joke about it, like, don't remind your mother that it's a voting day because we're just going to cancel. We're going to cancel each other's vote. Nowadays, that's not the case. But so back to our marriage. I mean, I was so, if he hadn't let me take the lead, and we have a very traditional marriage, and I'm Gen X girl. I want a man. There's a man. I mean, I'm not soy boy, low T. It's not my thing. Yeah. So he is all man, but we delegate, right? He's like, you have time to really do research. He trusts me. I mean, again, I'm a researcher by virtue of being a psychologist. So he trusted me. And so when I would present things to him, it was an easy sell, but I was lucky in that sense because not every marriage is like that. And your poor friend still keeps coming to mind. So when you think about the relationship aspect of how this has taken a toll, yes, we found our people. Thank God. Thank God. At the same time, there is this kind of, I still feel a bit of heaviness when I look at the fallout of all this.
I am such an eternal optimist. Like I feel the opposite. I feel
like tell me
the incredible lightness of being. Like why my world gets to be whatever I want it to be. And I want to only invite things that, Marie Kondo, does it bring me joy? Right. Yeah. Like my kids joke with me all the time because I'll be like hoarding stuff because I'm a total hoarder. Like I keep things forever. And they're like, does it bring you joy? I'm like, oh, it kind of does. They keep it. Right. Like I had this, I was a fashion editor in New York City when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And I have a closet full of wildly outdated, but amazing clothes. I have, Armani pedal pushers, and I have these really cool big shoulder patty jackets, and I saved all of it. And my girls, they fight over this stuff now. They're like, oh my God, give me the vintage Armanis. Like, I don't have anything fancy. I mean, literally my stuff now is like Levi's, but from back then I have like, so I don't get rid of anything. And that does bring me joy. If people don't bring me joy, like, thank you. Like, go. I wish you well. Right. I really, even the people that wished death on me, and they literally did. They told me, I hope you die.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a mental illness and I hope you get help. I don't need your apology. Right. I don't need you to come back and say, God, Jenna, you were right about everything. I really don't. Yeah. Like I have just let it go. It's in the ether. I love my life so much. I really do. If you know, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like the tippy top is the self-actualization and finding your purpose in life. And a lot of people never get there, right? Because your fundamental needs are down here, your food, your shelter, your love, whatever it is. How lucky am I that I get to be up here in the top of the pyramid, knowing why I exist. I know why I exist. I know why I exist. I exist to bring enlightenment and joy to people. And not everybody wants enlightenment and joy, right? Some people, they are their diseases. They are their unhappiness. They are their, their traumas. And, I have had trauma. I've certainly had trauma, but it doesn't define me. It doesn't. My purpose is what matters. And I found it. And I get to spend my days doing it, and I get to make money doing it. I don't do it for the money. I told you I don't even charge anybody for anything I do. But the fact that is a icing on that cake is it puts me more in gratitude. So I firmly believe I raised my kids with this. My poor kids, right? Because I'm a writer, so they had all sorts of little maxims. But I would say to them every day, like before school, whatever you put out into the world, you're going to get back times 10.
That's so good.
And that's good or bad. You give somebody a smile, you're going to get 10 smiles back. You flip somebody off in traffic, 10 people are going to do something rude to you. So just know that and try to invite only good, positive energy into your life. And so that's what I do. If it's negative, I watched this video the other day I thought was so interesting. We're energy. I believe that whole thing. We're energetic beings, and gratitude and happiness are really high vibrations, and envy and anger and sadness are really low vibrations. And of course, we all get jealous and sad and angry. Like that's part of life. But what this guy was talking about, and I'm sure you talk about this in your practice, was, if let's say something bad happens, like somebody knocks into you at Starbucks and spills your drink all over you, doesn't apologize, and walks away. Like what most people are going to do is, curse their way to the car, get in the car, call somebody, tell them about this horrible thing that happened, right? The whole way. And this, I can't believe it. Now I got to go home and I'm so mad. And they're going to cut somebody else off in traffic because they're so mad, but they're just thinking about how mad they are. And then you get home and your husband's there and you tell the story again because it was so bad. And it's like 17 seconds of staying in any emotional state is when you really start attracting more of that emotion. So imagine now you're 15 minutes of reliving this horrible moment when it's like, okay, it happened. It's over, right? It happened. It's over. I'm going to invite, positive and happiness into my life. I'm going to start focus on something good. How lucky am I that I could afford to go to Starbucks and get a coffee? How lucky am I that I have a car that I don't have to walk somewhere barefoot in my coffee? No, I can go home. How lucky am I that I get to go, so we have that ability. I know everybody doesn't have it naturally, and I know I'm lucky, and I'm grateful for that. But I think, people say to me all the time, "You're so lucky. You get to do what you do, do what you love for a living." I am lucky. I'm totally lucky. I made that happen. Like I moved to New York when I was 22 years old. I didn't know anybody. I slept on a couch until I found a place to live. Like sometimes you make your luck, right? And sometimes you make your happiness, right? There are people that can be happy. There's a study with quadriplegics who were able to return to pre-accident levels of happiness within months. Like, so it can be done, right? You can like the most horrible, I don't even want to say them out loud because you know where your brain goes, but like the most horrible thing in the world can happen and people can persevere and come back and live. So I don't even remember what your question was. It was something about dealing with all the crazy, but everything's a conscious decision, right? Being married, right? Are you going to be married today or are you going to be a jerk? Are you going to move close? Right. You're on a diet, right? Every single thing is a decision. I really want that cookie. Is that going to put me closer or farther to my goal? It's going to put me farther. I'm not going to eat the cookie. I don't feel like exercising. Is that going to put me closer or farther to what I want? So you keep your eye on the prize. I want happiness, light, joy, laughter, and I want to entertain people. I want to make them think. I want to engage in intelligent discussion, and I get to do that. Yay.
No, this is exactly because I think I told you we've been doing a series on trauma, and Elliot, my co-host, my brother, he's a clinician, whereas I haven't practiced as a therapist for many years, but he sees a lot of clients who've been through trauma. And so he knows he also was a dissident, but I was way more active. Like he just was like, I'm not jabbing. And then kind of just didn't really go a whole lot, like, totally aligned, but didn't go
activist.
Yeah. Wasn't protesting 10 times at the hospital for the poor people who were forced to jab and the healthcare workers, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so we were talking about trauma and I was like, I still have COVID trauma. And he's like, well, yeah. He's like, so I was like, so I want to do a series on this 5-year anniversary about COVID trauma. And you brought up trauma, which everyone has had in their life, of course, and to varying degrees. And one of the things you talked about that we've talked about a lot is when something happens that has been so profound to us, we can, like you said, we can choose to own it and to an extent that now it's become part of our identity. And yes, we have our story and there's the joy moments and then there's the painful moments, but we do get to choose how we identify ourselves. We do, especially nowadays, right? What do you identify as, Jenna? No, so we do get that choice. And I think sometimes we forget that that's a choice. And we do get to choose. It's funny, you talked about the maxims that you taught your kids. So Elliot actually wrote a book about our dad. He had dadisms and he was, one of them that he would tell us when we were belly aching and whining and complaining and fight. He'd just look at us and be like, get happy. Right? Just get happy. And that. Of course, I can't, Daddy. I can't. And then going to therapy school, myself when I was in my training, you start with Rogers and you're just like the feelings and validating the feelings. And you're like, yeah, that's right. Sometimes people can't get happy. Then you go to cognitive behavioral therapy and you hear a different story where it's like, yeah that's a choice. No one makes you feel anything. No one makes you feel right. Exactly. And I'm hearing that with your philosophy, which I think is really helpful for someone like me who's like, I'm in COVID trauma. And you're like, yes, see you, girl. However, and so I really like where you brought this conversation because it is the what's next or how do we remain committed to our values, our dissident stance, because now that is part of my identity and I'm here for it. Like I'm wearing my t-shirts. I mean, especially in when we travel out of Chicago a lot throughout COVID, I would wear, thank you. Defund
my
the
favorite.
media.
I have the tinfoil hat one. I have all sorts of them, but that's my favorite.
Yes.
I tell, actually, this is a PSA because I know you did something on single people lately. Yeah. I swear to you, Karen, if I wear this hat, I could meet 5 men a day. I wear it in every airport. I wear it to the grocery store. Guys will get out of a line and come and get in my line to talk to me. They'll be like, love your hat. And I'm like, are you hitting on me right now? Just let me know. Like, I really do think, even if it's just to start a conversation, this hat, I got it on Amazon. Sorry, we shouldn't support Amazon.
No, we should not
find it anywhere else. It's the best, but continue.
No. But so I love that because I'm actually trying to get on the program. There's a group you may have heard of, Unjected. So it's a dating app for people who aren't vaccinated. And I do think about that would have been me if I had, like, if the COVID had happened at a different time, I would be that person now going, crap, I don't want to date some. The other thing that It was funny that you said that about you're lucky, but you also took so many action items to get to that place. Another one of my dad's adages was make it happen. He'd say, make it happen, doll babe, make it happen. And that's what you did. You moved to New York, 22 years old. Like, I don't know. I don't have a job. I don't know anybody.
You can always come back, right? Like if I don't like it, I can always come back.
But yeah, let's get back to the book as we land this plane. So I will tell you, and I think I said this in the email when I reached out to you, I knew I'd enjoy it because, and I remember when you put out the call for essays, and I was like, I was tempted to write one, and then I was like, I know I should have, but at the time I was just like, you wanted it to be, which I think was beautiful. You wanted it to be something that was authentic, but you didn't want it to be so heavy, and you wanted to bring, there's heaviness. Like I cried reading the book, and then I laughed. And the heaviness, I guess, to me was just, I guess, man's inhumanity to man and the power of people who were in authority. Like we talked about earlier, in a civilization, we outsource our expertise to people who go, like you said, I didn't have a chance to go to med school before I had my daughters. So I need to rely on the expertise of this pediatrician who I have outsourced. I've given him trust. We do that in a civilization. And the breakdown of that, which we've discussed multiple times throughout this conversation, it's disorienting.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And it's a little scary because we go, I can't trust who I thought I could trust. And then, of course, as we've also talked about, the vitriol from people who are like, I still trust them and you should too, you whack job. Anyway, but I love the book. And so it's a really great place for people to reflect, I think, during this 5 years in. And then kind of, which I love that you brought it back just a few minutes ago, we can reflect. And Ellie and I just talked about this in our podcast yesterday. We can reflect. And then we have to reframe, which is what you did. You're like, I'm not going to reframe this as like, my career imploded. I had the Hollywood people just ghost me. You could have sat in that and been like, all right, well, I guess my career's down the tubes. Thanks to COVID for one other thing that you've destroyed in someone's life. And you went, no, I'm going to reframe this as the best thing that happened. And it's moved me further toward my purpose, my self-actualization, which I love that. And thank you for sharing that because that's empowering. That's where we want to go in the midst of whatever kind of trauma we've experienced, COVID trauma or any other kind of trauma. So talk about a little bit about the book.
Well, it's so fun. It literally was an accident. Like I had gone to the FLCCC conference and I'm on the plane on the way back and I'm writing my Substack for the next day. And I threw out this total like accidental line. I said, I love analogies and whatever. And I said, if the weekend were a book, its title would have been Chicken Soup. I said chicken soup for the fringy tinfoil hat wearing right-wing soul. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, that should actually be a book. Like that would be an amazing book. Yeah. So I have a friend who is a book publishing guru. I literally call him the guru. He's, if you go to bookpublishing.com, that's his website, for example. Wow. His name's Jerry. And so I get home and I text Jerry and I'm like, can I, it was totally on our team, by the way. I was like, can I publish a book with this title? And he writes back, LOL, no. And I was like, but is it a really good idea? And he's like, LOL, yes. And I'm like, okay. So I couldn't use chicken soup and I couldn't use this. So the very next day in my Substack, I was like, I threw that out as kind of a joke, but I want to do that book. I think it's really important. Like the thing that people say to me the most is, thank you so much for this Substack because there's so much heaviness and negativity in the world. And I know I can come here and I learn something, but I laugh and I smile. So I said, this is a call for submissions. They can be funny. They can be serious. I'm partial to funny. They can, be your personal experience. They can be a poem. They can be, I don't care. The only two criteria has to be some way pandemic era related, masks, jabs, lockdowns, Fauci, it doesn't matter. World Economic Forum. And they have to be net positive. Like at the end of it, it has to be positive. Like somebody could have died in your family, but this is what you learned about it, or this is what you took from it. And let's keep somebody died to a minimum. And I started getting submissions right away. And as always, I think I'm very impetuous. Like I am literally like, let's buy this house right now today. Let's sell everything. And like, I really am that kind of person. And I wasn't even like smart enough, I guess. Not smart. I wasn't even practical enough to worry for a minute. Like, what if I only get 10 submissions? I needed 45. What if I only get 10? What if I get 20, but they're all terrible? What if they're all the exact same thing? Like I got fired from my job and it stuck, So they started coming in and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really funny. Oh my gosh, that's this. So I started making little categories. First, it was just topics. Like, is it about the illness? Is it about masks? Is it, what's the main crux? Because I wasn't sure how I was going to organize it. I just had to get all the info. And then it was like, oh my gosh, like that one is just wickedly funny. That one is like, it's very spiritual. There's this whole, God element to it. So I organized it. I ultimately organized it by feeling. So they're witty, wise, warm, whimsical, wondrous, weighty, wicked, and woke. And when you go to the woke chapter, it says, just kidding. And
I know. I looked at the table of contents. I was like, what? Oh, okay.
Wait. That's all it says. Just kidding. And if you know me, you get it. So, and it was, there's 6 in one category, 10 in the next, but like they really fell so beautifully into, it wasn't, weighted disproportionately in any way. And I really liked the mix of, that Steel Magnolias moment where it's one of them will just make you cry your eyes out. And the very next one, you're laughing so hard, you're crying. So, they, people were wonderful. My contributors were wonderful. I made it very clear, like I'm the boss of everything. I get final say. So I had 1 or 2 that like, they submitted and I said, I feel like it needs this, that, and the other thing. And they weren't amenable. And I was like, okay, well, maybe if you want to submit to the next one, I hope it'll be a series. But for the most part, people were like, oh my gosh, thank you for your input. And yes, I'll do that. And I love it so much. I love it so much. I think it's, it'll be a time capsule of sorts of like when my kids try to tell their kids about how crazy it was. And you stood on stickers in the grocery store and there were like evil villains meeting in Switzerland to plot your demise. Like, it's great. So I did it. I published it myself. I have a little publishing company. I hadn't done a book through that for many years. But I resurrected that and I did a profit share with my contributors, which I've been in 2 dozen anthologies and nobody's ever done that. So
that's amazing.
Every contributor has their own code. So if they promote it to their audience and their audience uses their code, they get $5 from every book sale, which by the way is what I make. So like it's a 50%, like they get half of, cause we have printing and editing and
right.
I'm actually still in the hole on this book. So if anybody wants to buy it, that'd be great. Cause it takes a lot of money to get a book out and I did it very fast. But I don't care. I mean, I think it will sell forever. And I think, I think it's important. I do. I think it's important.
Oh,
and it was really fun and I'm proud of it.
You should be. And it was, like I said, I knew I would enjoy it, but I enjoyed it even more than I thought because it was it was very poignant certainly for a dissident. You're going to feel so validated and you're going to just recognize that to your point, like there was heaviness, but we have to find the light and find the silver lining or else might as well just curl up and die right now.
Alone, we weren't. I think that's the whole, somewhere, maybe it's on the website. I made a website for it too. It's like, we were so shunned and ostracized and people said and did such horrific things to us. And like, so when I first started writing my Substack, that was the thing, like people would say the most, like, ha ha ha, you're so funny. But like, thank you for saying what I think and what I feel and giving me a place. And the thing I love the most about the stack now is in every single comment section, even when people are disagreeing, like with V, he'll get into it, with a bunch of people, but it's always respectful. And people are like, this is the one place I come when I know I can have a rational conversation and nobody's, calling anybody names or slinging. It really is a community.
Yes.
And that, again, that's my little triangle. I feel like this is an Illuminati thing.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Is going to tell me it's just the Maslow's triangle of needs, not Illuminati. I have been called controlled opposition. I'm like,
of course.
Wait, I'm working. So wait, which side would I be working for? I can't even like, come on.
They're like, what do they call it? 4D chess or 7D chess. I'm like,
I'm not that smart. I'm not a double agent. I pinky promise promise with all the, and even like, you know, did you hear Elon Musk's latest interview on Joe Rogan?
I didn't hear the whole thing. No. I heard snippets of it, but
so funny. He was talking about the Sieg Heil, you know, when he said, my heart goes out to you. And he did the Nazi salute. Yes, and he's like, I've learned that I can never, ever, ever extend my arm at a 73-degree angle. It has to be above 85 or below 62. Like, and then, you know, because the internet went wild after that, right? Like, he was a Nazi and blah, blah, blah. And this is all this stuff. And meanwhile, the other side, here's the intentional division, right? Yes. All the people on our side are showing Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, like every person on the planet at one point or the other, whether they're just doing a jumping jack, your arm is going to be in that position. And, you know, I feel the same way with anytime somebody does, you know, this or there's, I don't even know what all the Illuminati stuff, like Trump's Illuminati, because he puts his hand in the inside of his jacket pocket. My husband does that. Right. Oh, you know what we bought my husband when we were in Italy the year before COVID? You know what we bought him? Guess. Red leather shoes. He could never wear those again. And they were so expensive. I thought they were so badass. I was like, oh my God, we're getting those. We're getting those. I don't get and they're so out of his character. Yeah. And I'm like, every time I'm like, wear the red shoes, baby. Yeah. Now he's like, should I wear the red shoes? I'm like, no, you can't wear the red shoes. Made out of child skin. God, I mean, no. Anyway, so you know, if I'm accidentally throwing Illuminati gang signs, I'm really not one of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And again, that's the other thing that the dissident community then, because we are, I think we're so, like I said, we're so disoriented at times because we just assumed that the other people who were critical thinkers would be with us and resist the propaganda, and they didn't. So now we're all just looking at each other and like all these people who are these freedom fighters, like Pierre Kory and like Merrick and like McCullough, they get people come for them like, oh, they're controlled opposition. Malone, controlled opposition. And I go, I don't know. I want to be thankful for people who stood up and stood out and spoke out, and like you as well. And I want to direct people to your Substack for sure. Because it's a great place to find that lightness in, if you're still like me, trying to deal with some of the heaviness of it, it's a great place to go. Be intentional about it. Go out and put yourself in a space that's going to elevate you and your mood. Like you were saying, there are steps we can take that'll get us closer to the feelings we want, and to have some levity is a great way to do it.
Amen.
Yeah. So Jenna, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your authenticity, your wit, your energy. You've definitely inspired me. I do feel like I owe you something, because this was a bit of a therapy session for me, really.
I love it. Oh, I love fake fixing people. I'm really good at it. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving my little Substack and my little book a plug. I appreciate it, because, you know, it's I do this for the audience, right? Feed me and tell me I'm pretty. That's it. I do it for people to share it and get joy, hopefully.
And feel that community that we were like propelled out of, catapulted out of the regular community, the normie community. But anything else that you want to promote or talk about? I mean, obviously your book with Dr. Kory.
So this was actually, when my oldest daughter read this one, she is very dramatic. I'm not going to lie. We call her drama mama, but she was reading it, right when it came out, and I was in bed one night, almost asleep, and she came running in bawling. And I was like, honey, are you okay? Like, what happened? And she's like, I just finished your book. She's like, Mom, this is like a history book. This is going to be part of history. You're going to be part of history. And I was like, again, back to the triangle that I'm not going to make the symbol again. Yeah. So because you want your kids to be proud of you. And there had been a moment where I was the crazy mom, and all the other moms were normal. And what could like literally my oldest said to me at one time, she's like, could you just be normal? No, I never have been. I never will be. I'm super sorry. So yeah, I think this is great. It was an absolute unmitigated honor to be able to work with Pierre, and who went from like a god in my eye to like my buddy that we send each other fart jokes. Like now that's where we are with that. My Substack, please don't be offended by the title. I haven't gotten any kick back on it, but the title is Jenna's Side. Not genocide. Funny. It's genocide. It's Jenna's Side. .rocks. And it is a place for fun and community and laughs.
Yeah.
And you get to like learn a little bit about what's going on. And it's I use tons of links and backup and everything. I am a researcher. Been that for 30 something years. So you can trust that my sources are pretty solid. I don't use third-hand sources, but and sometimes I'll slip a little Rickroll in there. Like I'll include a link just to see if anybody clicks on it, and it'll be Rick Astley, Rickroll. But it's just fun. It's meant to be fun and thought-provoking.
Well, so from one dissident to another, thank you so much it's so sorely needed, and really appreciate your work and your time today. Thank you so much.
You as well. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being part of the Love and Life family. I hope that this conversation felt healing and supportive. I know it was therapy for me. As a COVID dissident, I am still grasping for straws, feeling like I'm trying to get my bearings after the last 5 years. And so we're going to have these conversations. I'm not letting it go. And I'm also not letting my friends go. I'm going to try to figure out ways to still bridge the divide between the people, some of whom are family members and my dearest friends that went in another direction with COVID. But okay, I was here, they were there. I'm just not going to let them go and let them out of my life. We're going to fight for our connections, our friendship, our love relationships, whatever is going on in the stratosphere that's trying to divide us. I'm not here for it. I'm going to continue to fight for those I love. So I hope that this felt supportive and encouraging for those of you who are also trying to fight for those you love. And until next time, make it a great week.
Love and Life with Dr. Karen and Pastor Elliot is produced by Tim May and executive producer Dr. Karen Anders-Nabel. For more information about Love and Life, please go to loveandlifemedia.com.